Across the Aisle segment today, the Women's March, a global movement, according to the media and those who participated, stormed Washington, D.C. and major cities across America this weekend to protest the election of Donald J. Trump. Well, that's what I think they were doing anyway. It was actually kind of funny. Out of the hundreds of thousands of attendees, not very many of them could actually articulate what they were marching about. Except Madonna and Ashley Judd. Take a listen to what they had to say at the march.
Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I am outraged. Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Oh
Michael?
my God. Ashley!
My name is Ashley Judd.
Ashley Judd is here.
And I am a feminist. And I want to say hello to Independence Avenue in the back, all the way down to 17th Street.
Wow.
And I bring you words from Nina Donovan, a 19-year-old in Middle Tennessee, and she has given me the privilege of telling you what she has to say. I am a nasty woman.
Joining me now, Democratic media strategist Franco Ripple. Franco, hi, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Liz. Look forward to discussing some alternative facts with you tonight.
Franco, I could barely watch that video of Ashley Judd without, literally, I almost need a tissue to wipe my eyes. When she says, I am a nasty woman in that primal roar, it absolutely slays me.
I suppose from your perspective, it might be Howard Dean-esque, the primal scream, so to speak. But you know what? You actually, in the lead into this, brought up a really important point, which is that not everyone could articulate what the Women's March was about.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. It's just like the Tea Party, except better. But just like anyone who attended a Tea Party rally back before the Tea Party died a slow death would tell you that it was about a million different things. It could have been about cutting taxes or regulation.
Right, Franco, they could bullet it down, though, to saying that they wanted to stop the growth of government. They didn't want government overreach. They wanted to get back to the founding principles. And I did think it was very interesting. I was not the only one to notice this. This was actually reported very widely, and even by some mainstream outlets, that the people in the Women's March, they didn't have really one clear-cut message. They weren't necessarily anti-Trump. They weren't necessarily pro-abortion. It was quite ambiguous. But I do want to ask you this, Franco. These feminists, they all, I do think, were unified in the sense that they hated Trump. That's what they were all out there for. They say they hate Trump, but then they voted for a woman who accepted $25 million from Saudi Arabia, a nation, as you recall, where women are veiled, oppressed, and killed. Franco, do you not see some of the irony, the hypocrisy there?
Well, casting aside the red herring for a moment, I'm not taking the bait, Liz. The truth is that I don't think that's true that everyone was marching against Trump or that they hate Donald Trump or that, frankly, what they were doing there had anything to do with Donald Trump at all. Except,
Franco, don't even give me that. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a single person there who had voted for Donald Trump, who supported Donald Trump, unless they were there purely to cover the march in a journalistic sense.
No, that's true, but that's not why many of these women are there. And I speak as someone for whom almost every single woman in my family, unless they had a prior commitment, attended one of these marches, one of the 3 million women worldwide who attended marches in 678 cities across the globe. And by and large, they truly, and I mean this, they were not there to protest President Trump or his administration. They were there standing up for progressive values. And yes, they were there standing up for feminism, for recognizing that there is inherent inequality in the world that needs to be righted. And
right, so let me stop you right there and just dive into this topic. They were there for feminism. They were there for progressive values. They were there for choice. I mean, the Women's March themselves, they tweeted out multiple times they were pro-choice. They said that in their own words. And Franco, I think, honestly, this could be one of the reasons why President Trump was elected, because they say, these feminists at this march say that they're pro-choice. They say they want equality for women. They want women to be able to make any decision that they want, think whatever they want, be independent-minded. But truthfully, they don't respect anyone who makes any choice differently than the choice they want them to make. They don't respect anyone who thinks differently than them.
No, that's not true. And let's use the example of choice, what you're saying, which is you are equating these women who are saying women should have the right to choose with others, including women, including many of the 30 million women who voted for Donald Trump, with saying, no, women should not have the right to choose. And you and I have talked many times about life and conception and protecting life. And I get the argument made by many on the right to life side. But those people want to deny the women over here who equally believe that women with their doctors, with their faith leaders, with their partners should be the ones with the choice. So no, it's not an equal argument.
Right, but Franco, I mean, you pretty much just encapsulated what it is that I'm saying here. I mean, take us, for example. We're on very different sides of the abortion argument. I'm very pro-life, you're very pro-choice. We respect each other's opinions. We have these conversations every week. But you would not, I hope at least, disinvite me as a pro-lifer from a women's event just because I, as a woman, have come to the conclusion that I believe religiously, morally, intellectually, scientifically, that life begins at conception. You wouldn't sit there and tell me that I'm less of an authentic woman because that's what I, as a woman, have come to believe. That's what these feminists in this march were telling women who were pro-life, that they weren't welcome, they weren't authentic women, and that these women at the march were only marching for women who were in lockstep politically and ideologically with them.
I disagree. I think that it was an environment that probably welcomed women who were pro-choice, who were pro-environment, who were pro-public education, who are pro-peace.
Franco, they kicked out a feminist group because the feminist group was also pro-life. They said it was an error that they were included on the website. They put out a statement that said women are welcome who support the values that we support, including the fact that we're pro-abortion. They called it pro-choice.
Liz, like I said, 678 cities and 3.2 million women took part in this historic effort. And I say it's historic because Donald Trump, in his alternative facts, President Trump, has tried to paint his inauguration as historic. The Women's March was historic. It had 3 times as many attendees as President Trump's inauguration. Okay. That is a historic effort.
Right. No, I'm glad you brought up the historic effort because I want to point out a historical fact here. And that's the fact that at this Women's March, there are 3 women who, if they were alive today, would not have been welcome at this march. These 3 women are Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell. And for people who might not know, Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell was the first female doctor in the United States of America. The 3 of them, Franco, would not have been welcome. They would have been disinvited. They would have been excluded from this all-women's march because they were pro-life.
No, I don't think that's true that they would have been excluded, seriously. And the reason I say that, and the reason I brought up the statistics about this being a historic movement before, is to say no one group could possibly speak for 678 cities and for 678 marches and 3 million women and men, frankly, who attended. No one group, including the organizers. It's much like
that's what the organizers said, Franco. It's their own words. They said, everyone's welcome who supports our values. We have stated that our values are pro-choice. They were specifically excluding women who were pro-life. Franco, I don't know how to articulate this any better. As a woman, I have a right in our nation to say I am pro-life, to believe that life begins at conception, not to walk in lockstep with what feminists tell me to do. That is at the basis, that is the fundamental principle of what women's equality is, what feminism is, to respect each woman's own conclusion about her own life, her own values, and her own religion. Yet these feminists, these people who identify as feminists are telling me that I'm less of a woman because I believe something differently than they believe. Do you not see the logical disparity there?
No, because none of those groups speak for you, just like you wouldn't have them speak for you. And like I've said, no one group, just like the Tea Party, just like Occupy, no one group speaks for all of the 3 million women and men who came out to protest policies that they see as wrong and to stand up for progressive values that they see as right. That's what it's about. It's not about any group or any organizer. It's about the values that these 3 million people came out for. And I would just say to President Trump, as you form your new administration, you'd be wise to listen to some of these people because he tweeted, as he's wont to do, why didn't these women vote? Well, sir, a lot of them did vote. A lot of them may have voted. Some of them may have.
No, I'm sure a lot of them voted, but I think he's probably right. A lot of them didn't vote, and this march may have been more effective beforehand. But Franco, I think that's where I differ then between the founders or the sponsors or whatever, the organization that started this women's march is I, as a pro-life woman, would be very willing to include pro-abortion women in a rally that I created or in a march because as polarizing as the topic of abortion is in our nation, it's actually the one where there's the greatest consensus. I mean, whether you're pro-abortion, pro-choice, pro-life, however you want to identify, 84% of Americans, Franco, that's a huge majority, think that late-term abortion should not be legal. I mean, I'd be more than willing, I'd be welcoming. I invite pro-choice women to come together and we should come to a consensus on the things that we agree about. And that's what I don't understand about this is clearly these women, even the pro-life feminists, they oppose Trump. Why weren't the pro-abortion feminists happy to welcome them for the things that they do agree on instead of excluding them just for the one area that they disagreed on?
Well, I agree. The majority of Americans do believe that women deserve the right to choice. They deserve reproductive choice, and they deserve the right to make that choice for themselves, to determine their own destiny. Absolutely. The majority of Americans, time after time, study has shown that that is what they believe. Again, I think you would have been welcome at the march.
Franco, don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself. I would not have been welcome there because I identify 100% pro-life. It's always great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the show.